Hey Maya, are you gonna do the show? I don't know if you can see her, but yeah, she's right here. Hello everybody, my name is Mathis and welcome to a sort of combo video. This is going to be an unboxing of some fan mail as well as a minor update to the collection for those who might be interested in looking at my collection and knowing kinds of the games that I've been collecting. If you don't know, then I'm happy to inform you that I have been collecting big box PC games primarily for a while now. It's been a pretty big passion of mine, and by a while I mean, I don't know, maybe almost a year, coming up on a year, somewhere around there. Pretty much since about halfway through the Judge Mathis channel cycles when I actually started to collect. Initially it was just getting the game that I was talking about so I could have it in the background as more of like a set piece, I guess. But now, the more I've been doing that kind of show and the more that I've been doing more episodes, the collection bug, the hobby, I guess, kind of bit me, and I've just been collecting ever since, and pretty passionately. And a lot of the collection you see behind me kind of was jump-started by a very generous viewer of mine who hooked me up with all of his old games that he said were just kind of collecting dust, and he wanted them to go to a new home that was going to take care of them, and I was very happy to do that. And I had another viewer by the name of Lightning Dragon over on Twitter, Lightning Dragon 79 to be specific, I believe, say that he had a bunch of SNES games that he no longer needed or wanted, and wanted to make sure they were going to go to a place that was going to take care of them. He sent me 2 huge boxes of games, and I want to go through them a little bit, kind of rapidly, because there's a lot here, and it's all basically loose carts. But I want to talk about some of my favorite games, some of my memories with these, and then we'll go on through that. As I also said, I do want to do a little bit of an update on the big box PC collection. I've added to it a decent chunk. I'm not going to go through everything that I've added, but there are some things that I want to talk about and just show off. And one of the ones that I ended up getting from a viewer of mine that I don't think I've gotten to show off properly, at least, and I want to go ahead and do that. I might have covered it in a collection update video from months ago, but I want to kind of properly show it off. So actually, let's just start off with the update to the PC collection, a few of the games I wanted to talk about, and just why I ended up grabbing them or how I ended up coming into possession of them. So one of the ones that I ended up grabbing recently, and I talk a bit about it in the review I did over at Judge Mathis, if you're watching this on the Mathis Games channel, is the Legacy of Kain Blood Omen. This is the first in what would be a 5-game, technically 6-game series with Blood Omen, then Soul Reaver, then Blood Omen 2, Soul Reaver 2, and then eventually Defiance. And then Square Enix would attempt to do this 4v4 multiplayer vampire versus hunter game that kind of flopped. But this is the start of basically me attempting to get this whole series. There are a few game series that I'm working on getting the entire thing of. This one, all of the Star Wars games, and basically all the Black Isle stuff, from like Baldur's Gate to Planescape. And I think I'm just missing Icewind Dale 2 to kind of cover that particular saga, or that era of RPGs. But I'm going to be doing an entire review of the entire series on Judge Mathis, and I like to have the entire box. And this is special to me, this one in particular, because of how hard it was for me to find. The game came out on the PS1 first, and then eventually came over to PC a few months later in 1996, obviously. And I was searching, to the best of my knowledge, that there was a box copy of it. There had to have been a box copy. And while I was doing research looking for it, I hadn't seen mention, I've even seen screenshots of the box, but nowhere on the internet could I find, or even in the thrift stores near me, could I find an actual box copy complete in the box. And I eventually gave up. I couldn't find it on eBay, and even now I can't find it on eBay. All you can find are the jewel case copies with just the CD, or the PS1 copy. But what I eventually did was I eventually went to Amazon. And Amazon actually had some third-party seller selling this copy complete in box, but no pictures of it. and it was a little sketchy, so I reached out to the seller and said, can you like tell me what's in it and can show me pictures and guarantee me this is what you're saying it is? And they did, luckily, and they were happy to do so, which was great, and I bought it on the spot, had it shipped, and it's the only one I've been able to find thus far. I'm sure they'll appear on the internet over time. There might even be one up now, but for some reason, this was super hard to find, and I was very, very proud and happy when I was able to get my hands on it. In a similar vein, obviously kind of continuing that trend, a little bit less difficult to find, but a little bit more pricey when you do, is the Soul Reaver game for a PC. I actually played Soul Reaver when I was a kid. It was on the PS1, the inferior version. There was a PS1, a Dreamcast, and a PC version. Dreamcast and PC were more on the level. PS1 was probably the more popular copy, but because of the hardware limitations of the console, probably not the best copy. But I was able to find it, and because it's of course, an Eidos game, you got that trapezoid box, which I really like. It's obnoxious to store, but if you put them at the top of the bookshelf or something, they're really cool to display. And this is all kind of just like a trademark of Eidos. And when I was talking about my PC collection on a stream recently, somebody asked, well, why would they, I don't understand what the point of it would be. And honestly, it was just to stand out in the store. You go into a video game store and you were looking for a PC game, maybe you didn't know what you wanted, these would always stick out to you. They were weird, they were unique looking, they took up a ton of space, but they would grab your eye and they would instantly, draw your eye to it and you would be like, oh, what's this? So it was a trademark of this company specifically. And I love Soul Reaver. It's a game I never beat, and I'm looking forward to beating it now. But it's a really fun game, kind of a puzzle action game, and I mean, we'll talk about it more on the Judge Mathis channel, but this box is gorgeous pretty much all the way through. The inside opens up from bottom to top, and it just looks really, really neat. I love this box. I think it looks great. And I was super happy to get my hands on it. Now, almost as equally difficult as to find as Blood Omen was Blood Omen 2 in the box. Again, tons of PS2 copies out there because it came out on PS2 as well, and a lot of just the CD for PC, but getting a complete in-box copy was freaking obnoxious. It was so hard for me to find, and I don't know why I didn't do a ton of research. My guess would be because it just wasn't that good of a game and maybe didn't sell that well, at least on PC. And it was more since it was early 2000s, you go from big box to kind of this uniform, regular, like rectangular box that you're gonna see a lot in the early 2000s. Super happy to have it though, and now I'm only missing Soul Reaver 2 on PC and Legacy of Kain Defiance. And then I'll have the entire series boxed, hopefully, for my collection, which is great. So the final update of the PC collection at the very least, and before we go into the SNES stuff, is one that I got a while ago. It's from a viewer who was moving from the United States to a different country, and for one reason or another, he could not bring this particular game with him. He wanted, again, I'm super thankful that for the donation and this giving it to me. He said that he wants to go to places to take care of it, and I appreciate that and trusting me. And I've been keeping this particular thing not displayed, actually, more kept in my closet away from moisture and that. I'm weird. I can be really weird like that. But this one is really special to me, and this is the id Anthology. Now this came out in 1996, and there are only 10,000 of these made, and that was it. It was for a special occasion. It was celebrating all their games that had come out and all kinds of things, and what came with this and the way it's displayed is really, really cool. The cover, for one, is metal as hell, but the fact that this thing comes in a cool little booklet that looks like a weird Bible. It has a bunch of posters, a dog tag, a calling card, which is hilarious, and to have a really badass metallic statue of the Cyber Demon, it's just awesome. It's just a complete celebration of everything id had made and created at that point. And to have one of the 10,000 that were made, this is just one of those things that you never think you're gonna get, and when you hear about it, maybe you didn't know about it, you're like, there's no way I could afford it. To have it in my possession is really, as a collector, especially one who's still really new to collecting and only has maybe a little over 100 games, it's kind of I don't want to call it the Holy Grail. It's not really a Holy Grail, but it is one of the most rare PC games out there, and I'm so thankful that he trusted me enough to keep this thing safe. The only thing it's missing is there was a t-shirt that came with these copies as well, and I've been hunting for the t-shirt to grab separately, but nobody seems to be selling it. And all the other box copies that are out there are missing things, more than just a t-shirt. They're missing a bunch of other things as well. And so I can't find the t-shirt at all. I'm going to keep looking and hopefully I'll come across it at some point. But even without the t-shirt, it has everything else. And it is just a absolutely gorgeous box and box set for a game that, you know, for a bunch of games rather, Doom, you know, Wolfenstein and so on, that I could ever ask for. It is awesome. And I thank the viewer for this. This is just really, really, really cool. All right, with that all updated and all my PC stuff updated, or at least some of it, why don't we dive into what we got sent here in the mail from Lightning Dragon, check out all the SNES stuff he sent, and then go from there. So first of all, I have to commend him. These are in really incredibly good shape. A lot of the times when it comes to SNES carts, especially when I was collecting years ago and really just buying one every week or so, finding one that wasn't like written on or had stickers on it or was like beat up or discolored was difficult, especially for games that you were really looking for, stuff that was popular, because a lot of them had been used many times over the years. These are like, they look brand new and they all have the little cover at the bottom, the protecting the actual cart for itself. A few of them are missing it, but they could just be in the box. On top of that, while they may not be boxed in any way, they all, or at least a lot of them, are going to have the manuals that go along with it. He sent a bunch of manuals for these games. We've got Zelda, Lion King, we've got The Simpsons here. So these are carts plus manual, meaning if I really wanted to go for box copies, I would just need to find the box, which can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're looking at for just empty. And if I was looking for a complete in-box copy, I'd be missing some of the inserts. So let's just start, right? I've made a bunch of stacks, so let's just kind of crack at it. First one at the start here, we have Sim Ant. A lot of the sim games for PC, Sim Ant, SimCity, were usually ported over to consoles in some way. Usually they're way more inferior on the consoles, and finding one that was not bad was difficult. It was difficult to translate a PC game to a 16-bit console. Even if you look at N64 PS1, for instance, StarCraft was ported to the N64, it was really difficult. It was at a time where getting controls for RTSs and management games on a pad with buttons and like a numpad, not even a joystick, was a difficult process. So I never personally played Sim Ant on a console. I'd be interested to boot it up and see what it's like, and see if it's any good, but there's Sim Ant is kind of a cool little find. Next up, we've got Home Alone. Notoriously bad, if I am remembering, but I was a big fan of the movie itself. THQ, I mean, THQ stands for Toy Headquarters? I never knew that. Then we've got one that I feel like gained popularity more recently than before, and that's Kirby's Dream Course. And the reason I say that is you can't discount the popularity of what Let's Players do. Kirby's Dream Course, I know for a fact, being played by the Game Grumps, has definitely driven the price up of this game on eBay. I did peek around a little bit. It's not terribly expensive, but to have it is just awesome. Yeah, but I know even the cart alone can be kind of a little pricey, but it used to not be that bad until the Grumps played it and really made it kind of a thing. So that's really cool. Thank you. And then the fact that this is in the collection is exciting to me. In fact, I'm going to take the plastic cover off of one of these less exciting games that might have a cover on it, like this one. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put the cover on this to keep it safe. And that's Mario Kart. You can't go wrong. Mario Kart, how many Mario Karts are there? Mario Kart 8 just came out, well, maybe like a year ago or two. Incredible, and this is where it all started, an incredible franchise. So that's a really cool, really cool get. This one as well, I don't know the pricing of it to grab, and there's a little something on there, but I can, there, now it's off. But I loved this as a kid. I actually have a ton of memories as a kid playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Now, I was a Genesis kid growing up. I played Sega Genesis. I owned a Sega Genesis. I never owned a Super Nintendo. But every one of my friends in the neighborhood had a Super Nintendo. And one of my best friends, his name is Pat, had Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And I would play Zombies Ate My Neighbors with him, God, multiple times a week, every week for what felt like years. This is such a fun couch co-op game to play with your friends. It can get stupidly difficult, and I've never beaten it. And I would be interested to try and beat it maybe one day with a friend if possible. But Zombies Ate My Neighbors is such an incredibly good game. It's Konami before they were garbage. And this, if you can ever play Zombies Ate My Neighbors and you have somebody to play with on the couch, something, sibling, whatever, you got like your parents' old SNES or something, play this. This is such a good couch co-op game. Wouldn't really recommend it single player, but otherwise it's great. Super Tennis, can't say much about it. I don't know anything about it. Really did enjoy tennis games though, but usually more in the 3D era. Now, I don't know if this is the game I played on the Genesis. I don't think it is, but I did play a version of one of the games in this franchise growing up. This is Star Trek: The Next Generation. First of all, if you don't know, I'm a massive Star Trek fan. I've watched the Next Generation series multiple times all the way through, and is just a fantastic series through and through, and I adore it. And there was a Genesis game I played that was Star Trek: The Next Generation. If I saw it being played, I would recognize it, but I don't know the title. And it might even just be this one. I don't know. But this, for my inner Star Trek nerd, I love that I have this now. And then another one that kickstarted an entire franchise and a fan favorite, F-Zero. Never got into F-Zero until the GameCube era. Did not play F-Zero before that, never played the first one. I can see why people love it. I was never a big racing fan, but arcade racers like Super Mario Kart and that kind of thing, kart racers rather, are more my thing than more hyper-realistic racers. Not that F-Zero is hyper-realistic, but it's more serious, more competitive, I guess, than a kart racer. So F-Zero. I actually already had a copy of this, I believe. This is my second copy, which is awesome. It means I can make one my play copy and one my collector's copy, because I am that kind of guy if I get duplicates. Next up, Rock and Roll Racing. Feel like I've heard of it, never played it. Be curious, I'm sure a bunch of people that watch me have played this, and I'm curious what you guys remember of this in the comment section below, but I never played it. That's really what it boils down to. And then we've got Final Fight 2. Fantastic series, really fun beat 'em up. You know, this is where Hagar comes from. He's a classic character. He's like the mayor of the city where his daughter got kidnapped, and he just decides to go out on his own and save his daughter. Really, really cool game. Super, super fun. And one of just the classic beat 'em ups of the era. Played this. I don't remember much, but I know I've played it. Uniracers. There's unicycles. It's probably bad, but I don't remember. And this I know is bad. This is Mario's Time Machine. Really weird game. It's educational. One of the few times Nintendo lent its first-party properties to third-party companies, well before they started doing the mobile stuff now. They only did it for a few years, and that's where you kind of got the Super Mario's Time Machine stuff, and then due to legal things, that's how you got the Sega CD or the CDI Zelda games. It's bad. It's very, very bad. There's tons of Let's Plays out there that kind of showcase how bad this game is. It's pretty bad. Another one that is PC transfer to console, SimCity. I don't know how good the Super Nintendo port is. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's probably not great, but I don't know. And I will find out when I end up playing it. If I end up playing it, I assume I will, but SimCity on Super Nintendo is a kind of just interesting. Wheel of Fortune. It's Wheel of Fortune. And then we've got Street Fighter 2. Can't go wrong. This is not Turbo Street Fighter 2. This is the original release of Street Fighter 2. Great game, but Turbo's the way to go. Never was a big fighting game fan, though I've always wanted to be good at them. I never was, but there you go. And then this is one that I've heard so much about, but have never gotten a chance to really play it or find out why people love it, and that's Pilot Wings. Every time Pilot Wings comes up, anytime anybody has ever played it, they talk about how much they loved Pilot Wings. I've never played it, and I have no idea why it is considered as good as it is. Maybe one day I will. Next up is Mortal Kombat. The Super Nintendo one is inferior to the Genesis one because there's no blood. But Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat. It's a great series overall. Tetris Attack. Good game. I don't remember much about it other than I remember playing it, and I think it's like a rotate the block style Tetris game. Fun, really good party game, but that's all I remember. Again, really cool to have this in the collection though. Weird, vague, nostalgic memories for it for some reason. Don't know anything about this. Total Carnage? No idea. Never heard of it. Next up is Kendo Rage by Seta, S-E-T-A. Seta rings a bell, but I don't know much about it. My guess is it's a fighting game just by the cover, but because I've never heard of it, I don't know anything about it, but kind of a cool pickup. Kirby's Avalanche is like a Kirby's Avalanche is Puyo Puyo. That's what this is. Puyo Puyo was transferred to a bunch of different I don't want to say genres, a bunch of different licenses. So Puyo Puyo is a puzzle game by that very name. And then we got Kirby's Avalanche, which is Puyo Puyo. And then Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is also Puyo Puyo. So Puyo Puyo is freaking great game, though. Absolutely phenomenal game. NCAA basketball, so college basketball. Never played it. And again, basketball games I like a lot, but college sports games, not a huge fan. Donkey Kong Country 2. I already have a copy of this, but it's first of all, it's rare, and rare as in rareware, and it's in Diddy Kong's Quest, not Donkey Kong's Quest, Mathis. Phenomenal series. All three of them for the SNES are incredible. Agassi Tennis game. Tetris and Dr. Mario combo game. Both are great. Oddly, weird side note, I have weird... Dr. Mario I know is a good game, and a lot of like visual and audio things can be tied to memories and it can really bring on nostalgia. Dr. Mario brings back bad nostalgia, and I don't know why. I remember playing the game and I think I was super sick, and the music mixed with that real terrible memory of being horrendously ill as a kid makes me not enjoy Dr. Mario. It's such a weird thing, and I recognize that, but that's just how it is. Aladdin is such a good game. I played it for the Genesis. I think people consider the Super Nintendo one better. They're made differently. They're very different games. This one's by Capcom. The other one was by Virgin, I want to say. But this is one of those games where like the animation is near movie quality. It is incredible to behold. A really hard but fun game, and one of the few movie games that are actually excellent. Well worth playing and worth owning. Then you can't go wrong with Super Mario World. What can I say about Super Mario World that hasn't been said at this point? It's an incredible classic, and anybody worth their salt should have a copy of it in their collection. Math Blaster. Played it a bunch for the PC. Never played it for the Super Nintendo. It is an educational math game. I remember enjoying it decently as a kid. Tetris 2. I assume it's more Tetris. And Donkey Kong Country, the first one, again, what I said about Donkey Kong Country 2 applies to Donkey Kong Country 1. Great game. DKC 2 is better, in my opinion, but that's because it's a sequel and it does everything the first one does, plus more. And then out of this box, the final one of this box, and then we'll get to the next one, is another classic that anybody worth their salt should have played or at least owned. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. One of, if not the best, classic Zelda games in existence. It really set the standard. Back in the day, this was true open world. You could go almost anywhere. The world felt alive. It was just a beautiful game. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The contrast between the light and the dark world was really cool. There was some ingenious puzzle designs around that concept as well. If you've never played A Link to the Past, I implore you, play this game however you can. Just play it. It's worth your time. All right, this next box is interesting. It has about the same number of games, but it has a bunch of accessories in it. It has the system and the controllers. I'm not really going to show those off because you've seen SNES systems and controllers forever. But this one actually is something really cool, something I never owned as a kid, which is the SNES mouse. This worked with Mario Paint, which I'm not sure if that's in this collection or not. And it comes with the mouse pad as well. And basically, you know, this would be used to, you know, control Mario Paint, where you would make music or do like MS Paint style kind of coloring and drawing. Really kind of a neat accessory. I don't know how well it worked because, I mean, it's SNES, but I can imagine it worked well enough to work for the game because people have such amazingly fond memories of Mario Paint. It's a game I never played, so I have no idea how good it actually is. But any game that's really less of a game and more of a creative tool, even if it's basic in its function, made for kids to kind of spark that creativity is A-okay in my book. Getting to the games themselves, we'll start with this deck here. First one is Bees Kids. I think this is based, I'll just read the top, Mathis. Bebe's Kids. This is definitely based on a Saturday morning cartoon. I recognize the characters, but I don't recognize much else. I don't think I ever watched the show. Another one based on a Saturday morning cartoon, right, says Fox on it, is The Tick. Again, a show I'm familiar with, but was never a huge fan of. I never really watched more than maybe a couple of episodes, so don't know much about how the game compares. I mean, it could be awful for all I know. Another third-party Mario game. Mario is missing. It's bad. It's by the same company who did Mario's Time Machine. It's garbage. You can look it up. And then another copy of Donkey Kong Country 2. So he must have also had a couple of DKC2 copies for one reason or another. Now this game is, again, a Konami game, and back then Konami was known for incredible games. Sunset Riders. I was gonna say Sunset Striders. No, it's Sunset Riders. Cowboy shoot 'em up, kind of arcade style game. Incredible. Very, very, very good. And years ago, my editor and my friend, Dean, did a video on this game. I urge you to go check it out. It's a great game, and that was a great video he did for it. Superb. Great game to have, and thank you for allowing me to have it. It's awesome. Plock. Here's what I know about Plock. I watched somebody speedrun at AGDQ at some point. It looked bad, and that's about it. Not something I would have picked out as a kid. It's a weird creature on the front. Not my style. Clay Fighter. Again, a weird game. Oddly, I think Clay Fighter 63 and a third, like Blockbuster Edition for the Nintendo 64 is like the most expensive, rarest Nintendo 64 game out there that goes for thousands of dollars. I know nothing about if the games are good, especially this one. That's what I know about Clay Fighters, though. Super Off the Road Baja. It's a racing game. I can tell because the cover looks like a racing game. Another game I played as a kid, but Genesis version of it, was The Lion King. Very gorgeous game, very difficult game. Arguably a bad game. Cool Spot, not Super Cool Spot. I played a Cool Spot game. Could have been this one, could have been a different one if they made multiple. There's probably a Genesis version is the one I played. I remember enjoying it and renting it multiple times from my local video store. Doesn't mean it's good, though. You kids and young Mathis especially could have some pretty bad taste. Contra 3 The Alien Wars. Notoriously, horrendously difficult. Very hard game. If you're good at it and you know how to beat it, maybe an hour or two long at most. Other than that, it's super duper hard. All Contra games are. And then another one that you must have if you're a collector, and I have a copy of this already, is Super Metroid. Incredible game, great pickup, and glad to have another one in the collection. This is Enix, known for their role-playing games before Final Fantasy. No. Enix didn't do Final Fantasy, so that was Squaresoft. Paladin's Quest. I don't know garbage about this game. I'd have to look it up. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's any good. Role-playing games were very hit or miss back then, even more so than they are today. And I imagine this is a role-playing game or even an action role-playing game of some sort. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Last Action Hero, based on Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. So I know a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies based games are pretty terrible. I imagine this one might be the same. Now, I have a copy of this, but my copy is not nearly as in good condition as this one. And this is, again, Nintendo first party and what kicked off a huge franchise later on, Star Fox. Star Fox was very, very special. If you know anything about gaming, then I'm sure you know a lot about this. But Star Fox was very special because it did 3D before 3D was really a thing. And granted, the performance of the game was pretty bad. Frame rate was pretty rough. If you've got an SNES Classic, you can play it, and you can play the sequel that was never released on that SNES Classic. People loved this game back then. I have a hard time enjoying it now, though I respect it for what it did back then. And as a kid, it was mind-blowing. But nowadays, it's very hard for me to enjoy playing it beyond a nostalgia and just kind of like a history factor, I guess is what I'm looking for, word-wise. Great game for what it was at the time. Now I just don't know if it holds up that well. Super Scope 6. I don't think he sent me a Super Scope. I'd have to double check, but I don't see one in the box. Game just purely based for that light gun, gigantic Super Scope that Nintendo made. Pacific Theater of Operations. Looks like it's Koei, so it's got to be a strategy war game of some sort. Koei is known for really complicated strategy games even today, so I imagine this is very similar and in that vein. And then another great game, and a game I already own, but my copy is beat up to hell. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, or as most people just call it, Yoshi's Island, but it is a direct sequel. Some people don't know that. It's a direct sequel to Super Mario World, but it is, most people just call it Yoshi's Island. Another phenomenal game. Very difficult compared to Super Mario World, at least in my opinion. Beavis and Butthead. This game is trash. It looks great. Art, animation, beautiful. It is a terrible game though. Difficult for all the wrong reasons. Weird hitboxes, hard to tell what does what. You die way too easily. The game is like trying to kill you. It's just not good at all. Family Feud. If you watch the show, then you know what it is. Trivia game show. Oh, okay. He had Mario Paint. So it makes sense that he would send me Mario Paint, of course. It's a creative game. I already kind of talked about it with the mouse, so I think you know what you're getting in for there. It's The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. This game is also notoriously bad. As with a lot of these kind of adult cartoon games from back then, looks great, plays terribly. In the last stack of games we've got, Earthworm Jim. I played the hell out of Earthworm Jim as a kid, Genesis version. I adored Earthworm Jim for what it was. It's phenomenal. Shiny Entertainment before... Shiny stopped making games a while ago, I think. Super good game, though. Really enjoy it. There's Turbo Street Fighter 2. As I said when I was looking at Street Fighter 2, Turbo Edition, if you're going to play one of them, is the one to play. It's just better, faster. I think it's more characters. Vegas Stakes. Gambling. And then finally, Super Punch-Out. Great game. Still think Punch-Out for NES is better, but looks gorgeous, and it's also on the SNES Classic. Played a bunch of that on the SNES Classic a bit. Great game. Again, I still think the original is better, though, but I really love it. And then, actually, the last game, it's not really a game. It's just the cleaner. You can load a cleaner into and clean out your console. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And, I'm sorry, there is one more. I almost forgot. He did send me a fully boxed, unopened copy of Wario's Woods. The only fully boxed, unopened copy I have of any Super Nintendo game. Wario's Woods is a puzzle game. Don't know if it's really worth anything. I don't think so. I think this is kind of common. I remember, I think I tentatively looked it up on eBay when I saw he sent me a copy. I was like, ooh, is this rare? I think it's like $20 fully boxed, even sealed, because it's probably pretty common. But there's something about the Super Nintendo and even N64 era boxes. They were big, really beautiful art on them. They came packed full of stuff. So I will never open this, and I think it's just really neat to have in the collection. And that's gonna be it. That's the huge amount of games he sent me. So thank you again, Lightning Dragon, for this donation. I'm super pumped to have it. I need to get a way to display these. Maybe another bookcase, which maybe I need a bookcase dedicated to console stuff and not mix it with my PC stuff. But it's really awesome to have this box of stuff kind of kickstart an SNES collection that I initially was collecting way back in the day before I kind of went to this addiction and became a big box PC addict. And I will eventually do a proper update. Here's my collection update video with my PC stuff. I know I showed you a few games, but there are a bunch more that I picked up along the way. And I want to basically put up a third bookcase, get that filled out, and then I'll do a video kind of detailing what is in that case, how I reorganize things for those who are interested in that sort of thing. So thank you all so much for watching. And if you are looking to send me things, because people have reached out, try to hit me up on Twitter or throw me an email. It's the best way to get a hold of me. That way, if you want help and you want help on shipping costs and all that stuff, I'm happy to do that. But I appreciate all the donations that have been kind of sent my way for the collection. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon for supporting me and making this my job. I also just realized during my break between recording my PC stuff and this stuff, which I did take a small break, I forgot to turn on the second light. So it's gonna be lit on this side, but not on the other. Hopefully it's not too noticeable. I'm a professional, what can I say? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.